And we are live, and I guess I'll take a moment to see if anybody catches up. I don't know who's all out there. It is a Wednesday evening after all, and this is kind of short notice, but I had a little time, and so I figured, hey, why not try to do a live? And we'll see if anybody, again, catches on or not. And I do put the posts up on social media. I put it up on Facebook in different groups. I don't know if that works. I don't know if anybody sees a post on Facebook and actually comes here and watches a video, or if it's just a complete waste of time, like everything else in social media. They tell, oh, do this, hashtags. Yeah, hashtags don't work. Nothing works. Nothing works. I see Deke Radio is here. He says, greetings from Smyrna. Did you guys make it to Stellarfest? No, we did not. We didn't even make it to the Atlanta Comic Convention. We did go to the Retro Toy Swap last Saturday, but we did not make it to the Atlanta Comic Convention or anything else. And Pastor Rick is here. Glad you could make it today. And before anybody, I'm sure it'll come up 100 times. LPH is not here. LPH is out of town for her job again. And she, like once a month, she has to make the trip. So she's out of town for the next couple of days. And I have another package in the mail. You all know I had a big unboxing. Actually, some of the stuff from that previous unboxing are sitting right here that were given to us by Robert Online. Sent us a big box, a couple of big boxes, and we did the unboxing like last week. And I have another package from another viewer, Johnny Future. And I don't know if Johnny Future is in here or if he's going to make it here tonight. But I figured I would go ahead and open his package and just throw myself out there and see if anyone's out there or not. And again, did the circuit on social media, ran around on Facebook and put the post up in a couple of places that I was going to be doing a live tonight. Again, I don't know if that even works, if anybody sees that and decides to come and watch, or if it's just a total waste of time. As I've seen in the past, often a lot of the social media tricks of the trade that the so-called YouTube gurus tell you to do, they don't work. They don't work at all. It doesn't do anything for you. Click this and don't click that. And, this is how you get 1 million views and whatever. None of that shit works. It's a waste of time. It's a total waste of time. Of course, the last show that we attended was the Retro Toy Swap. We did not make it to the Atlanta Comic Convention. Couldn't do it. And the show wasn't, it had more people than it had in the past. And Max is here, and Max made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Max, helping out our feline friends. We're still taking care of like 15 of them. So all the help we can get. He says, will tariffs affect collectible prices for the time being? Any American companies we can support? Not really, because, nothing's really gotten into effect. So anybody who's sitting there and saying currently, I don't want to get into the politics too much, but anyone who's sitting there saying their prices are going up because of tariffs, take that with a grain of salt, because none of them have gone into effect yet anyway. Plus, all of them except for China have been temporarily suspended during negotiations. So none of them are being used. So if they're sitting there saying, we got to raise our price because of tariff, oh, yeah, sure you do. Sure you do. Maybe you ought to just make it right back here in the good old US of A again. How about that? Robert has joined us. He says it's Tuesday, not Wednesday. Is today Tuesday? No, today's Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, isn't it? Or am I totally backwards? Today is Wednesday. Wednesday the 9th. I think. Yeah, there you go. And there's Lady Pop Hunter. She is watching us from somewhere else. Hi, Trinessa. But yeah, it's not going to. It's a fair trade-off. I'll just cover it briefly. They're all doing it to the United States. The United States isn't doing it to anybody until now, although we were doing it during the last administration and everything was fine then, wasn't it? And if it can balance enough, your income tax will go down. That's the trade-off. So, yeah, it six of this and half dozen of the other. And Pastor Rick made a donation for the cat fund. Thank you, Rick. Always appreciated all the help we can get with the kitties. There you go. Max says Lady Pop on the road. Yes, she's watching. There she is on the road for work. Hi. It kills me that she's in the chat instead of sitting here. And Axel says it's Thursday here. Axel is overseas. Axel is overseas. It is Thursday here. But thank you guys. Thank you guys. Again, we went to, and I do have an unboxing again. I was just waiting to see if Johnny Future was going to make it or not. He may not. He sent me this box. It says Another Brick in the Wall. Pink Floyd reference. Pink Floyd reference there. Another Brick in the Wall. And we'll open that in a minute and see what's going on there. I don't know what's in there. It is a mystery box. It's a mystery. Mystery. And Stone Sours joined us. Glad you could make it. Lady Pop Hunter says she's watching My 600-Pound Life. Oh, you are? When I was talking to her earlier, she was watching Hoarders. Now she's watching My 600-Pound Life. We talked there now. So what has changed in the last recently that you didn't already know for the last 30 years that you're coming to me now? Doctor Now cracks me up. Yeah, well, when we spoke last time, you were supposed to lose 60 pounds in 2 months, but you have gained 18 pounds. So what is the problem? What went wrong? That guy cracks me up. Max Mueller says, what's the best convention you've been to since living in the Atlanta area? Oh, geez. The Toylanta and the Joelanta are getting really good. Or Toylanta and Toylanta and Joelanta are getting to be really good shows. This last Toylanta was really well done. Joelanta is usually pretty good. And the Retro Toy Swap usually is surprisingly good. I found stuff there you never see anywhere. But this last one, and I was just talking about that a minute ago before I got sidetracked, was a little disappointing, honestly. A little disappointing because they had more vendors. There were 74 scheduled, 70 showed up, but we got a lot more modern stuff than I've ever seen there before. And usually I come away with this blockbuster haul of stuff that just doesn't make sense. Finding toys that you never see anywhere, like the Beverly Hillbillies jalopy I found there, the Structo Clockwork Tank in working condition, both of them. Stuff that the Marks, I'm sorry, not Marks, the Remco Johnny Reb Cannon I found there. You don't find these things at any show, anywhere. And I'm like, wow, it just blows your mind. This time around, I'm like, it feels kind of average. It feels kind of average. And Stone Sour made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Stone Sour. He says, let's help those cats. Absolutely. I really appreciate it. We both do. My wife and I. She picks on me about the cats, but she loves them too. But I'm the primary caretaker. I'm the one that mostly manages them. Axel says David could do voiceovers for cartoons and CGI movies. I would do it. I don't know how to break into the business. Max says, are you seeing more Pokemon stuff with the latest craze? I've been seeing more cards. I have been seeing more cards, but, I don't really pay too much attention to that kind of stuff. I usually don't pay too much attention to that kind of stuff. But yeah, this last Retro Toy Swap, we didn't come away with nearly as much. I mean, I found some VR Troopers. I found that blow mold rabbit. There she is, or he is. Little cottontail, the blow mold rabbit, a lawn ornament. It's always cool to find something like that in this kind of condition. That's fantastic. My wife did find, oh, what did you pick up there? Two uh, two vintage carded Ninja Turtles. They were in really great shape. Uh, but we didn't walk away with like a carload of stuff that's like stupid rare like we have in the past. I mean, I found the boxed Indiana Jones there at the Retro Toy Swap. Just incredible things, but this time it didn't have that feel. And part of it could have also been that the Toylanta had been the previous week, so any vendors that might have had anything really amazing may have already brought it out there. And that could have something to do with that. That could have something to do with that as well. But we'll see. I mean, when the next retro rolls around, I will go. I was tempted by the Topper Crime Buster gun that dude had because it was mint in the box. It was unplayed with. It had never been removed from the interior inserts. And I'm like, ooh, you know, a 60s toy gun in that kind of condition. And I was thinking about it, and he offered me a pretty decent price, but I was just like, I don't know if I want to spend that right now, especially after the Toylanta the previous week. We had been, 3 days at Toylanta, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that right now. I got amazing deals at Toylanta. If I didn't, again, my wife and I talk about it all the time. If we couldn't get the deals that we do, we couldn't do all this. We couldn't do all of this. And no, I did not bring maybe that's the problem. I didn't bring the crown to the Retro Toy Swap. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, in all of its glory. The toy crown of destiny. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. But I did, of course, as most of you are aware, I did bring it to the Toylanta, and we were surprised by how many people actually recognized us at the show. I was like, geez, I feel like I should have had a table there. I must have had 40, 50 people come up to us. It was crazy. And Jesse Say What's here? He says, definitely a surprise to catch a live stream. And the crown. Yes, there it is. Axel says, why doesn't Google accept PayPal for Super Chat donations? Don't they? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't have any idea. Although we do have PayPal. We do have PayPal for the cats. Hold on a second. If somebody wants me to put that up there, I can find the link here really quick and throw it on. But yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it should accept pretty much anything and everything. Also, I don't know if you saw, I put up the video with oh, I don't have it linked there. I put up the video with the Godzillas, explaining the difference between the three Godzillas this week. So if nobody's ever seen that before, you can find it. You can find that. It was the very last video that I put up on this channel. Hey, come on now. It's moving along slowly. Oh, God. And Stone Sour is coming next, the Cape. Oh, God. Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that, actually. Get a little cape. Oh, no. To wear over my shoulder. Just short, something short to wear over my shoulder. Just to accentuate. Oh, here it is. I found it. Here's the link. And then I'll catch up on some of the comments. And there's Patrick is here. Robert says, did you pick up any vinyl records from that place you went to? We did. We did pick up some vinyl records. They are upstairs though. I don't have them down here to show, but we did. God, she got like a ton of rap. Most of them are singles though, but some of that stuff's pretty rare. But she got like stacks because they're down to like a quarter. They're down to like a quarter because we've been there twice, and she's trying more and more. Um, More and more records. We had gone there once before. We came back. It's overwhelming, so a lot of people just aren't bothering to pick through there. Somebody showed up while we were there, and he got like he was there like less than an hour. He got overwhelmed and just left. You know, Axel says, unfortunately, Australian money is nearly half once converted to US dollars. Is it that far off? I've been to Australia, and when I was there, it was something like 83 cents to the dollar. But that was in the 80s. I don't know what it looks like now. And Robert wants to know what size. 33 RPMs. The 45s are the little ones. 78s are like the old school like Victrolas, and 33s are the standard like 12-inch. So they were 33s, and that's based on the RPM. It's not the actual size. The 33, 45, and 78 refers to the speed of the rotation of the record. And the older ones are 78, and they've got closer cuts on them because they're not vinyl. They're actually made out of shellac. And they're easy. If you drop one, it'll shatter like a dinner plate. It's pretty awful. But yeah, we did. I got a bunch of stuff. I mean, I could run upstairs and grab some if you really want to see them. I don't want to leave you alone for a minute though, because somebody will come on and be like, "Where the hell is everybody?" Funny enough, I can't remember who it was. I was watching. I stumbled across a live stream once, and I went to check it out. Guy was knocked out in it. He was asleep, and there was people in there. There were people in the chat. There was like 30 people in there, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they're trying to, "Hello, dude. Hey, are you with us?" And he's like this, and you can hear him snoring, like he was waiting for the live stream to come on and fell asleep and didn't realize he was live. I'm like, oh my God, that is embarrassing. And I was just like, you would hope maybe someone he knew saw him on there and would call him, "Dude, wake up." I don't want to be in that position. Oh my God. Well, I don't know. I don't know that Johnny is going to make it today. I'm sure he'll see it after the fact. But again, this is the box that I received. It says another brick in the wall. Another brick in the wall. So I'll go ahead and I'll start cutting into this. I'm guessing it's comic books or magazines or something like that. Johnny has in the past sent me a lot of Cracked and Mad magazines, vintage ones. And he's also sent me a handful of like Facsimile edition comics, as well as LPH. So he sends her things as well. Johnny is the one who, over the Christmas holiday, sent LPH that Macho Man Slim Jim display to complete the display, because we have I had gotten her 2, and there was one more in the set because there's 3 total. And he found out which one she was missing, and he found one for her, which was really nice. So there we go. We got that unhooked. Oh, look at this. There are books in there. I'll go ahead and slide them out, and then I'll show you what it says. Sent this to our PO box, as did Robert. Robert, you can see some of the stuff that you sent sitting right here. Sitting right here. And this says, excuse me, what more can I say that I haven't already said? There's a little note. Okay, I will say it again. The best channel ever. Thank you. Well, no, thank you, Johnny. Seriously. Thank you. Now let's see what we have here. It looks like he's sent some Facimal books. So I'll go ahead and I'll start showing these. See? There's Robin Lives, Jason Todd Survives Joker's Explosion, Batman 428, and I believe these are all Facimals. Death in the Family #1. Right? Let me get that so that the glare is off of it. Death in the Family 2. These comic prices knock me out now. 3, but I mean like $4.99 a pop on these. And 4. That almost looks like Liefeld art right there. Liefeld or Littfield? I've heard both pronunciations. And there's Lady Pop Hunter said those are nice. Those are probably for you because of Batman. Robert says, I was wondering about that. I hope you two don't fight over stuff. I just figured you two would figure it out. Oh, we're not fighting over anything. We don't fight. We do not fight. We get along really well. And, you know, it's just assumed, you know, anything Batman related, it's going to be hers. And I don't care. You know, I'm not, you know, if she wanted it all, I'd give it to her because that's just how it is. And she'd probably say the same thing. Daredevil #1 with a holographic cover or mirrored cover. Is that like, yeah, it's like a metallic foil cover. That's what I'm looking for. It's hard to get that in there, dialed in. The Wolverine #1. I used to have Daredevil #1. It's part of the collection that I lost. And that's a foil cover also. Look at this LPH Thriller #1. She has the original from Gold Key, Thriller #1 with Boris Karloff. I gave it to her a couple years ago. Gold Key. Now they're doing Facimals of Gold Key comics. What do I know? And there's Frankenfrog. He says, "Jawsome." Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic. Detective Comics 31. First appearance of the Batplane. First appearance of the, God, look at that, $6.99. Holy crap. God, they charge so much for this stuff now. It's crazy. It's crazy. And there's Raccoon. Hey, Raccoon, how are you? Robert says, too bad you don't have some place to display all those great covers. Yeah, I know. Well, that's part of the issue too. And that's another reason to get stuff slabbed because you can put it up like it's a picture. But yeah, we've got a lot of comic books that we'd like to be able to display it. And it's like, well, where do you put it? There is Batman Adventures with the first appearance of Harley Quinn. Facsimal, of course, because, you know, if this was the real deal, that would be something else, right? There we go. DC Comics presents number 26, and that'd be the first appearance of the new Teen Titans. First new Teen Titans. And the guy is here. He says, good evening, King of Toys. Yes, that is correct. I am the King of Toys. King of Toys. Right now, I am the King of Comics. Crisis on Infinite Earths, number 7. Death of Supergirl. She didn't make it. She didn't make it. You see Superman just crying. He's bawling. Bawling out of control. What do we got here? Oh, yeah. House of Secrets number 92, first appearance of the Swamp Thing. And actually, the Archie Comics has I think it's Archie Comics has a great homage to this cover. The guy wants to know how the King of Cartoons is doing. How's the King of Cartoons doing? From Pee-wee's Playhouse, of course. Justice League of America number 1. They're playing chess with superhero characters. Godzilla number 1, foil cover. Classic Marvel comic. And he fought like S.H.I.E.L.D. through the whole thing. He fought S.H.I.E.L.D. through like the entire series. Now look at LPH. I thought you didn't want people to encourage me, LPH. Robert says those are great. Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice of him to think of us. Police Comics number 1. Plastic Man, the Human Bomb, the Phantom Lady, and the Mouthpiece. Introducing the Firebrand, a smashing new character. It almost looks like he's wearing like a Mylar shirt. I don't think that was a good color choice for his shirt. Plastic Man. I'm not sure, Robert. Robert wants to know who that guy was. Who that is that's playing chess against the Flash. I'm not 100% on that. What's this one? Oh, okay. Mad Magazine Special Edition. Oh, this is a modern. Is this what's the price on this one? Just curious. I'm looking for it. So this is a modern one. I don't see the price. It's probably on the back. Oh, it's free comic book day, Mad Magazine. Is that what it is? Okay. That's why there's no price. I almost missed that. Free comic book day, Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine, they rarely print anything anymore. They rarely print anything anymore. And then the last one here, Mad Magazine number 1 Facsimile. This is smaller than it would have been because it would have been magazine size, I believe. So, Facsimile edition from 1952. 1952. And that's what was in the box from Johnny Future. So thank you very much, Johnny. See, look at that. Thank you very much, Johnny, for thinking of us and sending us all of those books. And when LPH comes back, I'm sure she knows what she wants. Probably anything Batman or DC related. And Saturday morning, Mrs. Mad Magazine and Spy versus Spy. Spy versus Spy. They had a video game, Spy versus Spy, back in the day. But yeah, I remember all of that stuff because I used to read Mad when I was a kid. I've got a stack of vintage 70s and 80s Mad magazines in the corner over there, Mad and Cracked. And I used to get them from a local CVS. I used to go and pick them up at a local CVS when I had the money for it. And, you know, go over every square inch of it because there was a lot of hidden little images and things in the book. So that's what I used to do. That's what I used to do when I could get it. I never had a subscription or anything like that. And I had to have, oh, Robert says, did you like my bagging? Haha, 2 bags. Yeah, I see what you did there. Axel says, since the last time, quite a while ago, they now offer a PayPal option. Okay. I have no idea. I have no idea, Axel, but thank you. Thank you anyway for thinking of us. But yeah, Robert, when he sent us a surprise package, he double bagged it. And I was like, how many bags are we going to open here? How many? I'm going to get lost. Saturday Morning Fan said he misses Spinner Rack comics. You know, the only thing with the Spinner Rack, though, is the books are all getting bent because kids would flip through and they'd start getting bent. But, you know, back then we didn't care about that, or we didn't know about that anyways. So it didn't seem to matter quite as much. But, yeah, there we are. Now we want them to be flawless. The better the condition, the more happy everybody is most of the time. There are some people that they just want to have the run for at least reading purposes. At least reading purposes. But yeah. And again, like I said, I used to get the Mad magazines. They were like $1 when I was a kid, right? I think it was a dollar, or I forget how much it was. And it was my own money that I would get myself. And Saturday Morning says comic book vending machines had them folded back in the past. Well, they'd be in an envelope, right? Like the mail order, like when you would get them mailed. And Robert says, I don't understand spinning racks. It seems you can't find them anywhere. Not even on eBay seems to have them. Yeah, they don't come up too often. They come up from time to time, and people want a fortune for them, even in crappy condition, because they just don't make them anymore. And yeah, it'd be nice to have one, and I would probably just put a slab in each of the pockets just to fill it up for display purposes. And I have a wall unit. I have a generic wall unit for a pegboard, but I haven't put it up. I haven't put it up because I'm not quite sure how I want to use it. And Sylvian is there. He says, good night. Are you coming or going? Coming or going, Sylvian? Saturday says, no, this was a vending machine, like a candy machine. Photos of them are on Google. Really? I've got the rack sitting in the closet, actually. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's meant to be used as either a countertop display or to attach to a pegboard or a slat wall. See, it's a generic magazine rack, and you can put like the card in here, and it's got 6 tiers of doubles, and you can set it on a countertop flat, or it's got these hooks that are attached to it. See? I'll try to close up on one there. That will fit inside of hold on a second. Let me spin this around and I'll show you. See, here's a mobile slat wall. This is a centerpiece unit. Okay. Let me move these hooks out of the way. This is center display unit. And you could take this, put it inside the slat wall like that. Or this design will also fit into the holes on a pegboard. But, you know, that sticks out quite a bit. And then when you start stacking stuff in here, it makes it hard to see because it's not really meant for that kind of display. So, you know, if I grab a couple of slabs, I got a couple sitting here. I'll show you what I mean. So if I put a slab in here to display, and I say, okay, you know, here's showcase number 55, and then here's Casper number 1. Now you can't see anything. All you'll see is the headers if I keep filling it up. You know, the guy wants his MTV. Tuck says I would watch Craigslist for the spinning racks. If you can trust Craigslist. Craigslist is extremely shady nowadays. Axel says new Superman movie coming. The trailer looks good. I hope it's not another woke lecture trash heap. Oh, no kidding. And there's Gilgamesh. How you doing, Gilgamesh? And Sylvan, excuse me, says it's 5:35 p.m. here, and I am till the close. Oh, you're at work? 5:35 p.m. He's on the West Coast. But yeah, you see, you can't see now. Even if I skip one, you still can't really see what that is. So I have this display unit, and I'm like, well, hell, I'm not sure how to use it, or if I want to. You know, I'm not sure if I want to use it. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And you see, even if I do it with like traditional comics, I could drop some traditional comics in there, right? Just use these for example. You kind of got the same problem. I mean, it would be fine if you don't care. I mean, I suppose like that's okay. You can kind of tell what that is behind there, but you still can't really see the books. And it's wide enough, just wide enough for magazines. I could put my old Mad magazines in here just to keep them, because I've got a lot of Mad and Cracked from the 70s and 80s, right? Oh, okay, no. Sylvan made a correction. He says he means 837. He's in Trinidad. Wow. Gilgamesh wants to know if you could use a spacer on the top shelves to raise the back comics. That's, I mean, possibly. I mean, I could put something. I could put, hold on, let me clear that. I could put something down there to force it higher. But then, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that would work on every step. Saturday Morning says bigger magazines, magazine-sized comics like Marvel Treasury. And Robert says use it with the ones you don't want to read. Yeah. Axel wants to know how many CGC graded comics do you have? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I have a bunch, but not as many as most. The like 95% of our collection is all loose. And the guy says put Marvel Treasuries on top, then Golden Age, then Silver Age, then Modern. Yeah, I mean, the space, it's a 2-inch gap. You know, if I measure this out, you see right there, each of these is a 2-inch spacing. And it could work for overflow of Mad and Cracked magazines, because I do have a bunch, just to fill them up. You know, like, I'll take these out here real quick and I'll show you what I mean. Not that. Let's see. Okay, here, see, like Cracked. right? I could stick a bunch of cracked magazines in one side like that just to have it filled up. And then, you know, put whatever else I got in the other side like that just to pad it out. Gilgamesh says, or put larger mags in the back, comics in the mid, maybe mini comics in front, or just use the back for oversized poster art print. But yeah, I mean, I'll figure something out. I don't, you know, it was, where did I get this? I found it at like a yard sale or something and I paid next to nothing for it. So, and I knew what it was when I saw it. It's not a spinner rack, but I can't complain. But yeah, I've got tons of old Mad and Cracked and a few other magazines, and I could just fill that up. Although I wouldn't be comfortable having this attached to a slat wall because it's only the two hooks, and I would be worried about it blistering out the edge where it's connected and pulling it forward. But I could stand it up somewhere and fill it up with my extra magazines. That's what I was thinking about. LPH says that looks good. Saturday Morning says classic coloring books. Yeah. And Robert would put Starlog, Fangora, Famous Monsters magazines in there. Yeah, or color forms. You could. We could do that. No, it won't fit. It won't fit. That's my Shogun Warriors color forms. So color forms are out. Color forms are out. This one right here, see, it was $1. March 1984, $1 cheap. $1 cheap. And I remember this. I remember specifically owning this particular Mad magazine when I was a kid. When I was a kid, and a lot of these Johnny Future sent to me, by the way. But I remember this because I was playing hooky that day. I didn't go to school, and it was freezing outside. It was like below freezing outside, and I'd rather be wandering the streets, walking in slush all day than go to school. And I picked this up at CBS so I could have something to read. I did not like school. Even in junior high, I figured out I was totally wasting my time. Didn't want to go anymore. Didn't anyone? Gilgamesh says you could use it to hold VHS tapes or as a record rack. No, records aren't going to fit in there. They're not wide enough. It's not wide enough for a 33 RPM standard, and 45s would just drop too deep in there. You wouldn't be able to see them at all. And a VHS would probably be too thick. I think that would be too thick to get in there. And there's Tommy. How you doing today, Tommy? So I'll go ahead and put this back. Well, yeah, I mean, that's as close as I've got, is just a standard countertop display. It's in great shape. It's in great shape for a vintage countertop display. But, you know, nothing fancy about it. It doesn't have a comic header. Maybe if it had the header in it, it might be worth a little bit more. But, you know, I don't care about that so much. I just want to be able to properly utilize it. Go ahead and take that off. Make good use of it while I got it, you know. It's always nice to have display units. And like this one right here, this is a great piece right here. move very modular, move it around the room. This actually came from Payless Shoe Source. I have two units like this, and when they were going out of business and they were selling their store fixtures, I think we paid $10 for this. It was like, wow, that'd be a great way to display some stuff in the middle of the room. Axel says $1 got me a big lunch in '84. I bet it did. I bet it did. The guy says doing a Dennis the Menace marathon because of the passing of Jay North. That's right. Yeah, he died just recently. The original Dennis the Menace live action kid from the 50s. Robert says he played hooky too. Went to downtown and Chicago theater with my friend and saw Critters. Critters. There were like 4 of those, weren't there? The Critters movies. Saturday Morning said maybe the old hardcover, bigger size kids movie books like Star Wars or Muppets Take Manhattan or Goonies. Gilgamesh says the important thing is you have it, you'll find a use for it sometime. Pretty much. Pretty much. And Raccoon says Joanne Fabrics is selling fixtures too. So is Party City. Yeah, Party City's going out of business, and so is Joanne, and that's a great opportunity if you wanted a store display. You know, I've talked about them plenty of times. Even those tables, you can't really clearly see it, but the tables that these are sitting on, there's actually 2 of them. There's that tier, and then this table is designed to slide under that one exactly. And then there's one more smaller white table that goes under this one. And we got all 3 for like $10. Actually, we got 2 sets because there's an identical matching set on the other side that LPH uses in her collection. So it's yeah, store fixtures. Usually they're real cheap when stores going out of business, and that was from a clothing store. Almost all of that was from clothing stores or shoe stores. Axel thinks I look like an ex-Marine. Either that or he does a load of pull-ups. Yeah, I do actually. My wife and I work out quite a bit. We have a gym, and we have our own gym down here. And the guy says, I wish I would have got some of those tables and displays when Toys R Us closed. Yeah. But anytime any store is going out of business in your area, couldn't hurt to just look in when it says everything must go and they get down to the elimination of store fixtures. If you have the space for it in your home and you want to be able to display, it's a great alternative. It's a great alternative. Robert says, surprised you never purchased a mannequin to put Darth Vader costume or Stormtrooper costume. Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool, you know. And I do have like the display Santa there. He's only 3 feet tall though. He's exactly 36 inches. My old Woolworths 80s store display Santa there. And I've seen people do that. Motu Joe did that. He got an original cast worn costume from the 1987 He-Man film. He got one of the Palace Guard costumes, and he dressed it on a mannequin in his place. Saturday Morning says 5 Critters movies with Leonardo DiCaprio in part 3. Really? Excuse me. I thought it was 4. My wife and I rewatched the first one recently, but I haven't seen any of them for years and years. Okay, Saturday Morning says they made part 5 in 2019. Good Lord. Good Lord. Cheesy film, but well done productions for what they were, especially with practical effects. Back when if they blew up a house, they really had to blow up a house. I was thinking about that rewatching. I've been rewatching classic Bond films lately, and I'm up to. I just finished View to a Kill, which was Roger Moore's last film. And just thinking about the elaborate sets, the huge sets like Moonraker, they built the entire inside of a moon base for the end scenes, or some of the crazy stunts, like even Octopussy, Roger Moore's second to last. That was his sixth Bond film. Octopussy was not a good film. From the vintage collection, it's probably the last one on the list as far as story. But take a good look at the stunts and other things they do in that movie. The stunts are insane. And back when there was no green screens, you didn't have an actor on a wire in front of a green screen with people in green costumes holding them up and pulling them with sticks. When there were three people running across the top of a train going 80 miles an hour and dropping flat to go under a bridge, there were stuntmen really doing that. It was incredible. Even in Live and Let Die, when he runs across the backs of the alligators, or crocodiles, excuse me, a stuntman really did it, and with no wires or anything. And you can find the outtakes to that on YouTube, because it took him like 4 or 5 tries to get it right, where he slipped and fell in the water and had to bail. He had to run, the water was only like 3 feet deep, but he had to run through the water to get to the shoreline before he got in trouble. And they really did those stunts. It was crazy. J Evil Scientist is here. Glad you could make it today. Robert says he loves the critters more than the gremlins. And Saturday Morning says, what about ghoulies or munchies? Ghoulies or munchies? Munchies? I'm not familiar with the munchies. Robert liked Octopussy, especially the alligator submarine, but that's just me. Yeah, I mean, it's still a fun movie, but it's better than anything modern Bond. But if I was to rank them best to worst of all the Bond films before the modern era, it would probably be last because of the story, is what I'm saying. Saturday Morning says both are Gremlins ripoffs. I see. And Axel said CGI has ruined a lot of movies, in my opinion. Do you have an opinion on the comic graders, CBCS or CGC? Is one better than the other? They're about the same, honestly. That's the trick. And I know a lot of people like to crap on PGX, for example. PGX gets a really bad rap. I've opened PGX graded comics and resubmitted them to CGC and gotten the exact same grade in conditions where I was like, it wouldn't benefit it to clean or press this. It can go in as is. It looks like it's a correct grading. They're all about the same, and it's a toss-up because you never know what you're going to get with whoever does the grading, because it's really subjective. But as far as the grading companies, it all looks the same. But because CGC's been around the longest, it commands the best aftermarket pricing. They're not necessarily better than anyone else, but since they've been around longer, they get all the cred, essentially. The guy says that he likes Moonraker. Moonraker was cool, and it was Richard Keel's second appearance. Richard Keel, Jaws, was only ever in 2 Bond films, despite his notoriety. He was well known for playing Jaws, kind of like Boba Fett. I mean, Boba Fett's barely in the original Star Wars trilogy, but everybody remembers Boba Fett for some reason. Saturday Morning really liked Moonraker too. It was a well-done production, great special effects, great practical effects, especially the models were well done. The models were done by Jerry Anderson, and you can get a sort of a Space 1999 vibe from it, actually, when you're watching it. Gilgamesh said Roger Moore was his favorite Bond. Also, he had more repeating side characters I liked, like Jaws and the redneck sheriff. Yeah, Sheriff Pepper. He was also in two. He was in, or only in two, I should say. He was in Live and Let Die, and then he was in The Man with the Golden Gun. The Man with the Golden Gun. He had a recurring position. Saturday Morning said CGC has done some pretty crappy things these last few years. Well, since they were bought out by BlackRock, they've gotten kind of sloppy. Saturday Morning says Jaws was in James Bond Jr. Well, I don't think that counts. I don't think that counts. Robert said, for a long time, I thought Roger Moore was the only Bond, but I was just a kid. I can understand that. And of course, Roger Moore got the part because he was in The Saint. And so it fit. It was a good crossover because he played practically the same character in The Saint. Maybe without all the heavy stunts, without all the crazy stunts, and a lot of skiing in Bond films. You notice that? A lot of skiing, a lot of dynamic skiing scenes played out in Bond films. But I like the Bond films, the classic ones. And I've talked about it before, when Casino Royale came out, not the comedy from the 60s, but Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. I liked the film okay, but to me, it wasn't a Bond film. It just didn't feel right. He didn't feel like the traditional James Bond that had been played by the other 6 Bond actors. He felt like a loose cannon. He felt unhinged. He felt very emotional. And that's not how Bond had ever been portrayed before. And I didn't care for it. I didn't care for that. Brian says everyone remembers Boba Fett because he was a really cool character like Jaws from James Bond. And Sylvan says my first and favorite Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Okay. Oh God, who was that? On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Because he was only in one Bond film. He was only ever in the one Bond film. When they were trying to get rid of Sean Connery. Axel says Daniel Craig was incredible in Casino Royale. Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie, but he just didn't feel like James Bond. It didn't feel like a Bond film at all. Or not that it didn't feel like a Bond film, but he didn't feel like a James Bond character. He was no gentleman, and he was hot-headed, the way that the character was written. And I guess they were trying to alter the character. Raccoon says, I like the stunt where Bond had to jump across the water on alligator heads. Yeah, that was Live and Let Die. We just talked about that. Because the stuntman really did it. It was crocodiles. They had crocodiles lined up, and he actually ran across their backs with no wire or anything. He just did it. And there's some outtakes from that you can find on YouTube showing a couple of times where he screwed it up and had to bail out of the water quickly before they overreacted. George Lazenby on Her Majesty's Secret Service with Telly Savalas playing Blofeld. That's who it was. And Raccoon, George Lazenby. Thank you, Raccoon. Gilgamesh says, you ever see Agent from Harm? It's a cheesy Bond wannabe. Yeah, and it was actually Sean Connery's brother was the actor. I remember that. Sean Connery's actual brother. Axel says maybe not the Bond feel, but a cool movie. I get you. Yeah, I mean he did a good job in the film. It was a cool film, but it just didn't feel like James Bond. The way his character portrayal was, I was like, oh, that's not the Bond character. They could have called this anything else, and not made it connected to Bond. And it, I probably wouldn't have felt some kind of way about it. Buck making fun of Daniel Craig there, Dallas Store Bond. And Sylvan, of course, Lazenby, reaffirming that. The guy says on Her Majesty's Secret Service was great. The ending came out of nowhere. Telly Savalas, who loves you, baby. Yeah, with his, and you never see the back of Telly Savalas's head because Telly Savalas has really big earlobes, and Blofeld doesn't have them, and so they taped his earlobes back so that his ears look like this. Isn't that crazy? They taped his earlobes back. Robert says, I think Daniel Craig did a great job playing Bond. I thought Skyfall being his best outing. Did I see that? Because I didn't see all of them. I think I saw the first two with Daniel Craig, and I didn't see any more. I didn't see any more of them. But also my understanding is it continued to get worse. Is Skyfall the one with a big solar plant, a big solar power plant? Gilgamesh says, I didn't know that was Connery's brother. Guess he tried to cash in on his brother's success. Yeah, essentially. That was Connery's actual brother. And Miss Moneypenny, the woman who plays Miss Moneypenny in the Bond films, traditionally shows up in that movie as Miss Moneypenny. As Miss Moneypenny. And Paul likes Connery. Axel says, I thought Skyfall was terrible. But yeah, you know, it's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of perspective. Some people, you know, it's not everything's for everybody, and that's fine. That's just fine. We're not going to put you in the corner because if you liked or didn't like a film, it's okay. Oh yeah, God. Saturday Morning says, don't forget Remo Williams. The Adventure Begins. Wasn't there two of those? Wasn't there two Remo Williams? Gilgamesh says, I did like both of Dalton's Bond movies. I think he did a good job and wish he would have done a couple more. Timothy Dalton really liked the role. He really liked the role. But there was a conflict between the people that owned the rights to Bond and the MGM studios at the time. And so it was up in the air. And by the time they got it sorted out, then Dalton no longer had a contract with MGM, and he was on to another project. So he couldn't take the next Bond film because where they picked up, oh God, what is that guy's name? From Remington Steele. The first film that he did, Dalton would have done. He would have done. But yeah, Dalton was only in two. He was only in two films, but he really was into the role. He liked it. And that's a shame because he could have probably kept it going for a while if they didn't have contractual problems. Thank you, Gilgamesh. And Raccoon says Pierce Brosnan. Couldn't think of it for some reason. I can't remember everything, folks. But yeah, Pierce Brosnan from Remington Steele. And he kind of reminds me of Roger Moore because he sort of fell into the role the same way. Roger Moore was in The Saint, and that set him up for that. And of course, Pierce Brosnan was in Remington Steele, and that set him up for that. Robert likes Skyfall. It basically introduced everyone else in his life, Moneypenny, Q, etc. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about Bond films all day. I could go on and on all day. Guy wants to know if I have any of the Connery 007 action figures. I used to have a complete set of the Gilbert Goldfinger figurines and vehicles. Because in 1967, Gilbert made carded figurines, and they look like little model figures for like train sets and cars with a figure. and I used to have the whole set. I also had the um, 12-inch the dolls of two Connerys and the Odd Job, as well as the two man from Uncle, Ilya Kuryakin, and the other guy, and girl from Uncle. I had all of those figures, Moon McDare, that were put out by that series. I had all of those. I don't have any of that anymore, unfortunately. But part of the collection that I lost. Part of the and they were more like dolls than action figures. Honestly, they were more like dolls. Yeah, Gilbert made the 12-inch figures too, I think. But yeah, they were like crappy blow mold dolls. Quite frankly, they were like Ken was better quality than those were, but I had them in the boxes. Saturday Morning says Cloak and Dagger movie also had a ghost spy based on the video game. Sylvian says, did you ever see the Saint movie with Val Kilmer? No, I did not. I didn't see that. Puck says Dylan Mulvaney will play Bond in the new Amazon. Oh, no, don't. No. He's faded completely away. I think he's writing a book. Actually, but his career is done. Robert says Pierce Brosnan did a great job being Bond, but his movies were awful. He was in 5. He was in 5 of them before his Bond career ended. And Sean Connery has the record with 7. He did 7 films. Sean Connery technically also did 7, but only 6 of them are official MGM studio films. And the seventh Sean Connery film was Never Say Never Again. I think it was 1983. And it's a complete rewrite of Thunderball, because for some reason MGM didn't have the rights to the story, and so Warner Brothers said, "Oh, look, we're going to make a Bond film," and they basically it's if you played Thunderball and Never Say Never Again at the same time, the dialogue's identical. Robert has 6-scale Bond figures of Connery, Moore, and Craig. Saturday Morning says, did you know Megatron was a Microman and Man from Uncle crossover toy in Japan? Megatron is the Man from Uncle's gun before Transformers. Saturday Morning, I got something to show you. He says, Man from Uncle was big in Japan at the time. Robert says some consider Connery in The Rock as a Bond movie. Yeah, yeah, it could be. But I'll show you something here, Saturday Morning fan. You'll give me a second. That's what you're talking about. 1974 Takara G0 Megatron, the Walther P38 Uncle gun. This is the original. It's not a reproduction. 1974 Takara. This belongs to LPH. She has a collection of vintage Megatrons. It is a die-cast gun. And as you can see, it's unused because it does shoot. It's a spring-loaded gun, and it shoots these pellets that are still attached to the tree in there. But yeah, that belongs to LPH. And of course, all of the Transformers are copied from Takara's catalog. The micro change there, and they've got they did have little 1-inch tall 5 points articulation action figures with magnetic feet that could stand on or walk on the toys. And Sylvan's having problem. Why is it? Thanks. Why is what? Why is what? I think you lost part of your message. Gilgamesh says that Megatron is a grail I'll probably never get. They are incredibly expensive, and she just stumbled over it on eBay for like some stupid cheap price. Saturday morning says, don't take it to the airport. They'll open it. No kidding. Raccoon says that's awesome. Robert says the character Connery plays serves with the British MI6 in The Rock. Correct. Puck says, what was the sci-fi movie Connery did? Outland. That was pretty for what it was. Peter O'Boyle, wasn't it? Was it Outland when he was on the space station as an investigator? Is that the one you're talking about? I think that might be right. Now, I'll show you the catalog real quick. Here's the little men, and this is the actual size, and they are jointed at the hips, shoulders, and necks, and they do have magnetic feet. Okay, they do have magnetic feet. And C. Reed is here. He says a Megatron. Wow, no kidding. I know, this is fantastic. And flipping through here, and you'll recognize some of the stuff in this catalog. Like what these are. There's Ravage. There's Laserbeak as cassettes. There's Rumble, right? There's the Megatron, and there's the alternative, which is a revolver that they never made in the States. There's stuff in this catalog that was never transferred to the States. Oh, here we go. See? And of course, none of it's in English, so. And here you got cheated on this too, because there's Soundwave, but he's a real Walkman. He's a real Walkman. You didn't get that. Well, he wasn't a Walkman. He had an AM/FM radio. The cassette tapes were the little, Rumble or whatever. There's your camera. You remember the camera guys. Yeah, any of the 1974 Takara stuff is worth a fortune. Some watches. I have one of these. Mine is a Jet, though. I've got a 1974 Takara Jet in the box. There's Bumblebee and some of the others. Again, Hasbro didn't change much. They just cast it in plastic instead of die cast. They got cheap with it, basically. See? It's incredible stuff. Gilgamesh says that Soundwave's name was Cassette Man. That's what it says above his head. Puck said he was the Marshal in Outland. There you go. Gilgamesh says that Black Megatron's probably worth a mint. They all are. Any Japanese imports? A lot of this stuff basically just did not survive. Most of this did not survive. But oh, here's another one. Here's a Luger. Some great stuff. That's why it's so insanely valuable nowadays, because you just can't find any of it. You can't find any of it. Every once in a while, you see something like this over here. C. Reed says, I'm waiting for the self-transforming Starscream or Soundwave. She's been thinking about getting Starscream next, because she does have G1 Megatron in the box, including the Japanese boxed version. and she has the G1 Soundwave and Optimus Prime. She's been thinking about getting this Starscream, because she doesn't want all the Transformers, just certain ones. And then this was just pure luck. Pure luck. Pure luck. Saturday Morning says he has a Japan Microman kids book based on the cartoon. Comes with kids Ultraman Taiga book and Mickey Mouse Train Japan books. Pretty neat books. Gilgamesh said Soundwave's name is Cassette Man. That's okay. I read that. Robert says, where's Prime or Convoy? She has the original Optimus Prime. You can actually see it behind me. It's one of these two. One of them is the original, and one of them is a reproduction. But yeah, one of those is the original Optimus Prime, as well as the original this is really the original, but G1 Megatron, and then the Japanese version from the 80s. And yeah, that one, that's the original Prime. And you can tell, well, I can tell, because the box on this one is darker. I think this one's sealed. The box, like on the reprint, the colors are darker. And that's just a really nice example. A little bend on the header, but you know. Uh-oh. Bumping into things. And then yeah, she's got the Megatron. Her Megatron box isn't the best. I don't know how well you can hear me back here, but I may as well show you a couple others real quick. Don't want to disappear on you completely, but you don't get to see stuff from her side too often. There's her Soundwave, her boxed Soundwave. And that is the original Soundwave. She has also the reproduction. And then there's her Megatron, although the box is wonky because someone put tape on it. That's actually tape. And she doesn't want to peel it off because she could see where someone started peeling it off and was shredding the box. And she was like, nah, just leave it. And then the Japanese version of the same, vintage Japanese version. Which ironically is made in China. Really cool sets. As we catch up here. Gilgamesh says, have you seen the Robosyn Transformers? They transform on their own, talk, move, or voice activated. Great figures, but so expensive. I haven't seen those. I've seen the couple that Hasbro's put out, but I haven't seen that, like the Optimus Prime that they did. Sylvan wants to know, why do most movies made from TV series bomb? Because they were made for TV. It's a different format. It's a different feel. It's designed to be ongoing. So you have examples of movies that are based on a TV show that aren't so bad, but a lot of them are terrible. Like Beverly Hillbillies never needed to be a movie. Dukes of Hazzard never needed to be a movie. The Addams Family movie wasn't so bad, as an example. I mean, sometimes it turns out okay, sometimes it's awful. Like, what's the other one that I'm thinking of? Land of the Lost. Terrible as a film. Shouldn't have done it. But a lot of them, it just doesn't translate properly. The same thing can be said for comic books. There are certain things that happen in comic books that do not translate well to live action and shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be done. Robert says he recently bought an Isaac figure from the Love Boat. Don't know why, but I had to get him. Mego, the Mego Isaac 3 3/4 inch. Saturday Morning says, I don't know. Doraemon has 44 movies and Case Closed has around 30. Yeah, those are animated though. If they did that as a live action, how would it look? Raccoon says, I still have the original Soundwave from childhood, but the cassettes are lost. And C. Reed says, Addams Family was originally a comic strip. That's correct. It was originally a comic strip. Then it became a live action TV show. And then they did the movies, 2 films with Raul Julia playing Gomez. Raul Julia was a good fit for that. Saturday Morning says Dukes of Hazzard was a movie first. As Moon Runners, the show is a sequel to the movie. And WCW Forever says, what about the Munsters movie? The new one, I didn't see it. I heard it wasn't that good. I heard it wasn't very good, but, you know, again, that's a matter of opinion. I know that back in the day, they made the Munsters movie with the original cast, but if I remember correctly, and that was about the same as the TV show. Oh, and Saturday Morning says Case Closed had 3 live action movies. That I did not know. That I wasn't aware of. But yeah, she's into the Transformers. She likes certain characters. We rewatched the series recently. It's actually kind of tedious. It's actually kind of hard to watch because the dialogue is so primitive. Primitive dialogue, choppy animation. They skimped on frames. It's obvious. Voiceovers. Sometimes the characters got the wrong voices. There's a lot of problems with it. And then after the movie, when Rodimus comes prime on the show, then it really gets bad. It gets really, really primitive. The dialogue gets even more primitive and hard to follow, or tedious to follow, I should say, to where you just don't even want to bother. Yeah, some shows, when you go back and watch them, they don't hold up. We watched Street Sharks. That was like pulling teeth. Again, choppy animation, bad frame rates, primitive dialogue, primitive plots. And then they had the Extreme Dinosaurs was even worse. It's like it's written for 4-year-olds. And then other shows will surprise you with how good or how sophisticated it is. Gilgamesh says the problem with making older shows into newer movies is modernizing them doesn't work. A lot of older shows worked because of the time period. That is correct. That is correct. C. Reed says Moonrunners was close to the Dukes, but the show was completely not connected to each other. And Sylvan says before Transformers, there was GoBots. Yeah, GoBots premiered in the United States before Transformers did. But for whatever reason, Transformers overtook GoBots in popularity. I really don't remember the GoBots cartoon very well. Haven't seen it since I was a kid. I'd have to see it again to make a judgment call on whether or not the show was better. So, you know, I'll put that up there from C. Reed real quick. But yeah, I'd have to watch it again because I don't want to make a judgment call on GoBots without having seen it in like decades, pretty much. But sometimes you go back and rewatching some of these shows, it's a toss up because some of them turn out really, really amazingly good. Like Exo Squad turned out to be, rewatching Exo Squad with my wife, and we were like, wow, this is really well done. This is a good show. This is a really good show. And then rewatching, say, Black Star, and watching that's like pulling teeth. Black Star was really boring and really badly put together, even though the animation wasn't bad. Gilgamesh says they've done a good job turning older shows into newer comics lately. Transformers and Thundercats both have good comics going, and Silverhawks just got one started. I don't know anything about modern comic books. Paul says the original He-Man cartoon is also tedious to watch. It's better than Black Star. And Masters of the Universe has its moments. There are certain episodes that are entertaining. And the thing, though, is a lot of the characters are just useless. And they even allude to that in the show, because He-Man, the only two useful characters on that show are Orko and Ram Man. And anyone else He-Man gives a job to get them out of the way, basically, because they're useless. Even Man-at-Arms is freaking useless on that show. So I think there's just too many characters, for one thing. And I don't like, although I like Skeletor, I don't like when they make a cartoon villain into a buffoon. And Skeletor was a buffoon. So was Cobra Commander. They made him an idiot. And I don't like that. I want a villain who's a villain. You watch Spiral Zone. That's a good cartoon. And look at the villain Overlord. That guy is not fooling around. That guy is drop dead serious in that show, and he is ruthless. Absolutely ruthless. Saturday Morning said, what about Brave Star? Brave Star is actually pretty good. And the writing is more sophisticated than was Masters of the Universe. It's a lot more sophisticated writing. The only episode that I did not like from Brave Star was when they did a crossover with Sherlock Holmes, because I think they were trying to do a spin-off, and I didn't care for that. The rest of the episodes were okay. Saturday Morning said Racky Races, Herculoids, and Space Ghosts have new comics also. Gilgamesh said good shows like Jason the Wheeled Warriors got pretty much forgotten. Jason the Wheeled Warriors is also very good. It's surprisingly good. It's a Sunbow production, and of the three major Sunbow productions, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Jason the Wheeled Warriors, it's the best written. But it leaves you hanging, because at the end of Jason the Wheeled Warriors was supposed to be not a live action, was supposed to be a theatrical production. Same as Transformers and G.I. Joe. But they canceled it because of the backlash from Optimus Prime's death. And so you never got a conclusion to Jason the Wheeled Warriors. Let me see here. Saturday Morning said Benjer from Dungeons and Dragons is not goofy also. Robert says, I would love to read all the letters on your wall. Maybe you should do a video of all the letters and read them. That would be fun. Yeah, all of these he's talking about right here on the door. When people send us cards, letters, or packages or whatever, and there's a note, it goes on the door because we don't want to forget anybody. Gilgamesh says, I watched a couple episodes of Visionaries last week. That show's not as good as I remembered. Really? We rewatched it recently. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. Some of the premise was odd considering they weren't on Earth. So how do you end up with a cowboy town? Things like that. But as far as Saturday morning type cartoons go, it wasn't the worst. Pietro says that, if I pronounce that correctly, Pietro, this channel is the best vintage toy channel on YouTube. Congratulations from Argentina. Well, thank you, Pietro. We really appreciate that. And of course, LPH is not here, but I'll speak on her behalf. Thank you very much. Paul says, think I'm going to binge Knight Rider this weekend. All these classic shows got me going now. We're watching Knight Rider now. Of course, we only watch one episode a week because we personally don't binge watch. We don't like to because we feel like you forget things. We feel like you forget things if you binge watch too much. We're watching it now. It's pretty goofy, actually. And it's what makes it funny is the Michael Knight character, David Hasselhoff. He plays it like a heart attack. He is dead serious and so intense, and that's what pulls it off. But some of the stuff they got Kit doing, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Saturday Morning says 2003 Skeletor still had a sense of humor, but was more deadly. The 200X series. 200X. My favorite villain. I ought to do a top 10 villains. Top 10 80s cartoon villains. I liked Max Mayhem from Mask. Mask was a decent cartoon. I think that was also Sunbow, wasn't it? Was that Sunbow? I don't remember. But Max Mayhem from Mask, he was a serious character. He was a pretty serious character. Saturday Morning says we lost a gem movie also, and Thundercats, Ho the movie, Liberty, and the Littles, and Smurf Quest all ended up never getting big screen releases. Do they need it, though? I don't know if they need it. Sometimes, like when G.I. Joe made live action films, I don't think anybody's been happy with any G.I. Joe live action film yet. Or Transformers. Some people were okay, some people were pissed off. Gilgamesh said Pirates of Dark Water was another one that never got a proper ending. It still upsets me. It just stopped without a proper ending. Yeah, and that happens. Raccoon tried to rewatch Dungeons and Dragons, loved it as a kid, couldn't handle the unicorn noises. You know, that's what ruined it for me. That's what, Paul, no, we haven't seen the Knight Rider 2000 yet. Just the original Knight Rider. Although technically, Kit was the Knight Industries 2000. That's what the TT stands for in Kit. Knight Industries 2000. But we didn't see Knight Rider 2000. But yeah, a lot of those shows don't hold up. Dungeons and Dragons, we watched it. Again, like 12 or 13 episodes Saturday morning. It's too rushed. But as far as the noises, that's what ruined it for us with Flash Gordon Season 2. The original, like 1979 Flash Gordon that the Mattel action figures come from. The first season, brilliant. It looks just like a 40s movie serial, including opening narration and dialogue. And the entire 13-episode run is a single plot. It runs together like a film. It's brilliantly shot, rotoscope, excellent voiceovers and everything. Season 2, dialogue got dumbed down. They went to episode by episode plots, and they introduced a little animal friend named Zabadi that just said his own name over and over and over again in an extremely high-pitched voice. It was really, really irritating, actually. And so second series is terrible. but the first series is amazing for a Saturday morning cartoon. Robert liked to watch Mighty Max. I used to watch that with my oldest. Mighty Max was a cool show. And the toys, man, those are expensive now. They're expensive now. They went way up there. Gilgamesh says there were some shows I honestly voted for the villains. I always wanted Shredder to get at least one win against the Turtles. And C. Reed says live action G.I. Joe series is the only way to go than doing another movie. And Saturday said Shredder won in the Incredible Shrinking Turtles episode, getting the tracker from the Turtles. And there's Zomb. He says 4 or 5 channels on here that show 80s tunes every Saturday morning with all the old toy commercials plus other cool commercials. Are they? Are they? And Robert says Knight Rider had a lot of spin-offs. Team Knight Rider 2000, and Knight Rider when they made Kid a Mustang, the Knight 3000. One of them was post-apocalyptic, right? Yeah, I know about the spin-offs. I just don't think I've ever seen them. But I imagine they're probably as goofy, if not worse, than the original show. The original show was pretty freaking goofy. And I always go back to the same episode because it sticks in my head whenever I think about it, where Michael Knight has memory loss, and Kit, he's in like the 10th floor of an apartment complex, and Kit's telling him on the wrist radio basically to jump off the balcony, and he does it. And it's like, dude, you don't know who you're talking to. You're just going to jump off the balcony because someone tells you to. And then his sunroof opens, and the chair comes way up on a long pole and catches him and lowers him back down into the car. And I'm like, come on. What the hell are we watching? What is this, Inspector Gadget now? Saturday Morning says we never got a Knight Rider cartoon. No. Got a Dukes of Hazzard cartoon. You got Dukes of Hazzard. You got, what was the other one? You got Fonzie. You got Laverne and Shirley in the Army. You got Fonzie in a time machine. In a time machine, mind you. Traveling through time. You got, who else? There's a few shows that got cartoon spin-offs that just didn't make any damn sense. Blue Splash is with us. Gilgamesh says, have you seen the Knight Rider Transformers crossover? Kit makes a cool looking Transformer. I think I did see that. Yeah, Saturday Morning said Punky Brewster. That's right. We got a Punky Brewster cartoon. We got Mr. T. We got, what was his name? Ed Grimley. You got an Ed Grimley cartoon? You got Bill and Ted? Yeah, Alf. See in here, C. Reed says, Alf, that cartoon was terrible. That cartoon was absolutely awful. Alf cartoon. I couldn't get through the first episode. Zom said Brady Kids, Partridge Family, I think. I remember Brady Kids. I don't remember Partridge Family. You got the Jackson 5. You got the Beatles. Beatles was 60s. Paul says, speaking of Knight Rider, the original Kenner talking kit is getting pricey. Luckily, I was able to snag one a few years ago. Yeah, that's a grail for LPH. She wants to get that. She wants the Kenner Knight Rider. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's getting up there. And you can also, Michael Knight was available individually. He was available individually. Yeah, see here says Star Trek. Yeah, the Star Trek was well written though. That was a really well written Filmation production. So was the Planet of the Apes Saturday morning cartoon. Brilliant writing, surprisingly good. Gilgamesh said Police Academy. Yeah, that's what the action figures are based on. Not the movie. They're based on the cartoon show. I don't hardly remember that show though. I remember it being on, but I don't remember watching it. Sylvan says my favorite Martian. Yeah, Zom said Planet of the Apes tune is good. Planet of the Apes cartoon is really well done. Robert remembers Kit jumping into a building on the 50th floor and asking Michael, "How am I going to get down?" Yeah, that's right. He jumped from the parking garage across the street through the window into the apartment. And you don't know how he got down because they just went to the end credits. They went to them in the truck or something. You don't know how they did it. Yeah, Saturday morning said House Party, Rambo, yeah, Little Shop of Horrors, RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Tales from the Crypt, Toxic Avenger. Yeah, well, Toxic Crusaders was drastically different than Toxic Avenger, though. Drastically different. Toxic Crusaders was a fun show. That show is funny. But the film is like a gore porn fest. It's horrible. Little Shop of Horrors, I don't remember. I don't remember that. House Party, yeah, with Kid and Play. And because of that cartoon is how he lost the role on Fresh Prince. He was supposed to be Fresh Prince, not Will Smith. And he got to feeling some kind of way about the cartoon being canceled. And NBC told him to take a walk. Because he was like, "No, I'm not going to do it if you don't keep the cartoon on." And they're like, "Bye." And it was kind of foolish because, I mean, most Saturday morning cartoons only last a single season. Yeah, Killer Tomatoes, Killer Tomatoes, Star Wars Droids and Ewoks cartoons. That's right. Those action figures are expensive too. Robert says, "I bet the Foundation of Law and Government probably helped them get down." Yeah, they probably got a crane for them. Saturday morning giving us some more. Yeah, King Kong was the 60s. Saturday morning. I have the action figure from that TV show. Fantastic Voyage, Godzilla, of course, and Godzuki. Godzilla and Godzuki. Super Dave, I don't remember. But yeah, I've got the action figure from that. This is actually the King Kong from the cartoon show that you're talking about. This is that King Kong. And he's got like magnets in his hand. See, or there's a magnet in his hand right there. And he was part of a playset, though. I don't have the playset. I just got the loose figure. I don't have the whole thing, unfortunately. But there was like a box set, and it had like little trees and little animals and stuff that he could pick up with the magnet. And this is based on the Saturday morning cartoon show. And I'm trying to remember who made it. I think I want to say it's hard to read it. I can see made in Hong Kong on there. I want to say it's multi-toy, but again, I can't really read it. But that's the King Kong figure. 5 points of articulation if you count the wrists. Pretty rare figure. Austin Bird is here. Yeah, Robert says it came with plastic animals. Yeah, it has a little kit. Blue Splash went toy hunting, found a bunch of Motu and Transformers on clearance at Target. Okay. That's cool. I think that's the only toy that was ever made for that cartoon show, actually. I think that's the only one. Robert remembers the theme song. Gilgamesh wants to know if I remember Count Duckula, British cartoon that got brought over back in the 80s. It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I've seen it. Axel wants to know if I bother collecting Hot Wheels. Not really. That's a massive can of worms, especially since they've been remaking all of their original ones. Mattel's been recranking those back out for years, making them over and over and over again. And there's so many. That's a massive can of worms. Back in the day, I had a bunch of treasure hunts, but as far as collecting Hot Wheels, never really got into that. Saturday Morning says King Kong Escapes movie took stuff off the cartoon, including the bad guy, Doctor Who. I have it on disc, the King Kong Saturday Morning, but I don't remember it very well. But one of these days, we'll rewatch it. We have rewatched the George of the Jungle series, and that was actually a lot of fun. The George of the Jungle, just like the same people, of course, that did Rocky and Bullwinkle, obviously. But it's a real fun, really fun series to watch. Some adult innuendo and theme hidden in there if you're paying attention. So they knew it wasn't just kids watching. Stuff that would have gone over your head when you were a kid that you wouldn't get. Like when you watch Rocky and Bullwinkle, they make a lot of crack about paying taxes. They make fun of taxes a lot. That's something that a child wouldn't understand. Yeah, Gilgamesh says George of the Jungle used to come on in the mornings with Super Chicken. I like those shows. Yeah, it was a combination show, same as Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was George of the Jungle, Super Chicken, and Tom Slick, all within a 1/2 hour block. And that's how they would run that. But yeah, those were fun. The Super Chicken was really fun. Paul liked Darkwing Duck. Robert wants to know if we have DuckTales or Darkwing Duck stuff. No, but it's on LPH's radar. She would like to get the Playmates Darkwing Duck stuff, but we don't have that. She saw some at the Toylanta, but she just couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it. And Robert wants to know if they do Tennessee Tuxedo. I'm not sure if anything toy or figure wise was ever done for Tennessee Tuxedo. Maybe a Soki. But the guy who used to voice the actor who played in Get Smart did the voice for that, for Tennessee Tuxedo. Blue Splash wants to know if LPH is going to get into creepy crawlers. I don't think so. And no, Saturday Morning, I don't have any Roger Rabbit stuff. Was that 80s? Late 80s, right? Yeah, Don Adams. Thank you, Zom. I couldn't think of his name. He also did Inspector Gadget. And he was in a 90s, was it 90s or 80s? Late 80s sitcom about a supermarket. He played the manager in a supermarket. But I don't think she's doing creepy crawlers, but she is interested in getting the Playmates Darkwing Duck stuff. And again, we saw some at the Toylanta, but we had already done so much at Toylanta. She was like, because you can't do everything. We're not balling out of control, as they say. You can't do everything. It'd be nice, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So we've got we do a lot of hunting for deals. We make deals. We find great prices. It's the only way we can get it done. Zom says, I think it was a Canadian production. The Supermarket Show? I'm not sure. Kimberly says, do you remember Gumby and Pokey? I scored a Gumby phone in the box. Gumby and Pokey are classic. Gumby goes all the way back to the 50s. And there's been several incarnations of action figures that have been done over the last few decades. And they're always bendy figures. But, and she has one. She has one carded Gumby figure. but not much else. That's something that she would also be interested in. You don't see it that often. They're not terribly expensive, but you don't see them very often. And probably they're not taken very seriously because of how often they've been redone. I think there's a company redoing them again now. Yeah, on the roundup, on Friday's roundup a few weeks back, I showed another release of Gumby and Pokey figures. Let me see. Gilgamesh wants to know if I have muscle men. I don't have any muscle men or cuties. Wasn't the other one cuties, the one for girls? Robert wants to know that they do Underdog as a bendy. Underdog was done as a bendy, if I remember correctly. Blue Splash was about, what about the Tick line? That's another line to get into. The Tick by Bandai, done in the 90s based on the cartoon show. And those are still affordable. Those are still very affordable if anybody wanted to get into the Tick. I had a set of Tick figures. I don't have them anymore. Those are gone, unfortunately. Saturday Morning says the Barker Cartoon and Comic Museum has full props from the Gumby shorts, wall of merchandise from decades, and a Gumby bookcase set used in the 80s show there. But yeah, the old Gumby cartoons are hilarious. They're funny. You know who else I used to I liked was Davy and Goliath. The Davy and Goliath cartoons were or well, they're not really cartoons. It's stop motion. It's stop motion. But the Davy and Goliath are pretty funny, especially the holiday ones. My favorite is the Halloween one. My favorite is the Halloween. And Zom's got to run. That's okay, Zom. Thanks for coming in tonight. But yeah, the Halloween episode is my favorite because they turned into vandals. They were going around town vandalizing property. And it just was so out of context for the characters, but there was a reason it was being done. It was pretty funny. And the premise was funny because they were like, oh, well, you know, if I break all the lamps on so-and-so's porch, or break all of so-and-so's porch lights, it's not like I'm doing it because I'm in disguise. It's the other person. Oh, and Kimberly's got to go too. Axel says, what about 80s Lego sets complete in the box? Would you deem those collectibles? Yeah, those will sell. Those are big money. I've talked about that a bunch of times because you see, we talk to a lot of vendors. The modern Lego kits, they don't move. But the vintage Lego kits, complete in the box, even played with, they'll sell every time. They'll sell every time. Raccoon liked the blockheads because they were such a-holes to Gumby. Yeah, they were. Or they were always hustling him, cheating him out of money. Robert wants to know if they did Davy and Goliath figures. I think as bendies, if I remember correctly. And Casey Remember is here. He says Thundar the Barbarian. Saturday says, do you have MASH or Love Boat? No. I used to have a set of the MASH figures. I don't think I had Mego Love Boat, but I did have TriStar MASH figures and vehicles, but I did not have the playset. The playset's really tough. And Zaya says he just got an email from Big Bad Toy Store. Prices going up 15 to 40%. Are they? I didn't see anything about that. If that's true, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I haven't gotten a message from Big Bad Toy Store. Well, we'll see. But yeah, I would get them just because they're Mego. I used to watch the Love Boat when I was a kid. KO says it's true, and Raccoon says they got that email too. Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it. Casey says new He-Man is great. And Blue Splash says the Legends have already jumped to 27 on pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store. Okay. Okay. I see. Saturday Morning says the story is Mego had to choose Love Boat or Thundar or to make figures and chose Love Boat. I hadn't heard that, but Mego made a lot of mistakes because they took just anything and made action figures of it. They would make action figures of damn near anything except for Star Wars for some reason. We've all heard that story. But yeah, they made a lot of weird choices in those days, like the Our Gang Little Rascals figures. I mean, you can still buy those for under $50 a pop on the card. I've got some oddballs like the Chips figures, Starsky and Hutch. I mean, these are shows that kids may have been watching, but they weren't really kids' shows. You know what I mean? Stuff like that makes more sense now that there's adult collectors than back in the day when they were marketing to children. They had the Planet of the Apes and the Star Trek figures, which were really popular, but those were based on the Saturday morning cartoon shows, not the movies. So that made sense. That made sense. Stuff like that. So that's why Planet of the Apes and Star Trek and superheroes have always been their biggest sellers, even to this day. And a lot of the other stuff they did is just kind of like, it's niche, like the Happy Days, except for Fonzie. Happy Days doesn't sell for a whole hell of a lot aftermarket. I would get it because I used to watch that when I was a kid. But as a kid, I'm not so sure I would have wanted Happy Days action figures. You know what I mean? Gilgamesh thinks with price going up, more collectors might start going for vintage. Possibly. In many cases, the vintage costs less anyways, because that's why we did those videos back in the day. We did those videos about 70s, 80s, and 90s action figures that are affordable. You can find them for under $50 a piece used most of the time, sometimes around 20. Yeah, Saturday Morning says Happy Days did get the cartoon. That's true. But who was in that cartoon? Who was in that cartoon? Because it was Fonzie, Richie, and like one other character, and they didn't even do the voices, the actors. And I don't think it was based on that. It's kind of like the Laverne and Shirley from Mego. I have the Mego Laverne and Shirley. That was based on the TV show. That was based on the TV show. Yeah, Saturday Morning says the teens were there plus a new dog. Yeah, there was a dog because they have to have an animal, right? I barely remember it, to be honest. I barely remember. But the Laverne and Shirley Migos, these are based on the show. See? There's Lenny and Squiggy, and they were sold as 2-packs. $8.99 at Venture. See, this isn't and if I remember correctly, Lenny and Squiggy weren't in the cartoon. And then, of course, Mego tried to do fashion dolls because they did Sonny and Cher and Farrah Fawcett and stuff like that. And then there's this, and these are like some of the ugliest dolls Mego ever made right here. That's Laverne and Shirley. I mean, look at that. Actually, Laverne looks like the mom or the aunt from Sigmund and the Sea Monster here. Those are terrible. And then they're huge by comparison because Mego doll size figures like these are 12 and a half inches tall. So they would tower over like a Barbie. They're not in scale. Should be like a half inch taller than a Barbie doll. Be like Barbie's mom. Yeah, Mego made a lot of weird and ugly stuff. They had some great stuff and they had a lot of crap. Yeah, WCW fan says Mork and Mindy cartoon. Yeah, they had a cartoon too, didn't they? Didn't they? Gilgamesh says I always thought the Beverly Hillbillies would have made a good cartoon. Saturday Morning says Fonz was in the Laverne and Shirley cartoon, but wasn't in the Mork one. And he got an arcade game as well. Saturday Morning said none of the girls were in the cartoon, just the guys. They had a new time travel girl from the Happy Days cartoon. Yeah, Robert said Shirley had some likeness, not so much with Laverne. The Laverne came out terrible. And Blue Splash says, remember Michael Jordan in the All-Stars cartoon with Wayne Gretzky and Bo Jackson? Oh, God, yeah. And Nolan Ryan, right? Wasn't Nolan Ryan in there? I'm trying to remember. That sounds really familiar. But I don't think I watched that. And yeah, Road Pig is there. He says WWF had Rock and Wrestling. Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. That's right. And none of them did any voice acting for that show. None of them did any voice acting for that show. I remember watching it, but I don't remember the show. I only remember watching it. I don't know how well that would hold up trying to watch it now. Saturday Morning said Mork had the full cast, including Robin and Mork, and Mindy got turned into teens and went back to high school, and they had an alien dog. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't know that I would have watched it, though. I remember watching the Mork and Mindy show, but I don't remember watching that. And Road Pig said on Mr. T, he did his own voice acting. Yes. And he did a live action intro for it as well. Live action intro for it. And Axel says, if I had the money and the team, I would have paid Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford to do a proper Star Wars reboot after the TFA flop in 2015, but obviously couldn't call it Star Wars. No, you couldn't call it Star Wars. And Saturday Morning says the Mork cartoon had the season 1 cast, but aired during season 2 after they canned most of the cast. WCW wants to know if Dave Collier did Mark's voice. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, there's a lot of another one I used to like was the Archies, the Filmation Archies cartoon. I used to like that. Popular enough that the songs made it to mainstream. You all remember Sugar Sugar? That comes from the Archies. That comes from the Archies cartoon. Wow. Yeah, there's so many Saturday Morning, because again, most Saturday morning shows only lasted a single season and then got the axe. Very few got a second season or anything beyond that. So yeah, they came and went, most of them. Gilgamesh says best live action to cartoon was no doubt the real Ghostbusters. Well, it started out as live action. The Real Ghostbusters was a Saturday morning Filmation live action show from the 70s. I've got it on disc. It's actually pretty funny. And yeah, Saturday Morning said Smurf got 9 seasons. And technically, Fat Albert got 12, if I remember. And that's very rare for a cartoon to last that long. Robert says Scooby-Doo had like 15 seasons. Yeah, but like with only like 15 episodes. They kept playing them over and over and over again. They kept playing them over and over. Well, they did it with Fat Albert too. If you thin it out, Fat Albert technically only really has 3 seasons, but they padded it out to 12 by showing reruns over and over again. Blue Splash liked the Ghostbusters cartoon better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, Ghostbusters was more sophisticated writing than was Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles was geared towards a younger audience. And if you liked the Ghostbusters, try watching Starcom. Same team, same voice actors, same style of animation, and a mid-range of sophistication in the writing. It's not really for kids. Yeah, I remember the Globetrotters cartoon, but I don't remember a live action one. Yeah, and Filmation Ghostbusters. The Filmation did that because they still technically owned the rights to Ghostbusters. And so they put their cartoon out, and then the studio that did the movie comes out with their Ghostbusters. It calls themselves the real Ghostbusters because they couldn't call themselves Ghostbusters, and they were counting on people not remembering that Filmation was the original live action Ghostbusters from like 1970. God, when 4, 5, something like that. Raccoon said Kid Video was another cool cartoon about the music group that got sucked into a cartoon world. I love those songs to this day. I think that's another one that just ended without them returning. I think that's how most of them ended up. I think that's how most of those shows ended up. But anyway, where I am, it's after 10. So I really got to get moving along. So I will go ahead and say goodnight. Special thanks to Stone Sour, to Pastor Rick, and to Max for making donations to the channel today for our cat fund. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. We need all the help we can get with our felines. It means a lot. And thank you, everyone else, for joining me this evening. Again, no LPH, but hopefully next time we do a live, she will be present when she gets back in town. So have a good night or day, everybody, as the time may be different wherever you are. And we will catch you again sometime soon.